Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? And welcome to another edition of the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. My name is TJ Jones. Thanks for checking out the podcast. I really do appreciate it. Well, Who Dat Nation, there's no other way I can put this. The New Orleans Saints got screwed.
Quick snap, Breeze. Pass is incomplete, no flag for Tommy Lee Lewis. To each other, crowd's going crazy as there's no flag right on the Saints sideline.
The New Orleans Saints lose to the Los Angeles Rams 26-23 after a very controversial and horrible no call by the referees. After the game, Coach Sean Payton, quarterback Drew Brees, Ted Ginn Jr., Tommy Lee Lewis, Michael Thomas, and Cameron Jordan spoke to the media about the call that ended their season.
It's frustrating, just getting off the phone with the league office. They blew the call, and man, there were a lot of opportunities though, but that call puts it 1st and 10. We're on an E3 plays, and it's a game-changing call. That's where it's at, so it's disappointing. Credit the Rams, they made enough plays though. They won the game. The kicker made some big kicks. But for a call like that not to be made, man, it's just hard to swallow, and then to get a phone call. So what do? You get back up and you start going to work. This will be a tough one for these players, for the coaches. And again, Rams did a great job. It was a well-fought game, hard-fought game. It was simple. They blew the call. They said it should never have not been a call. They said not only was it interference, it was helmet to helmet. There were 2 calls. They couldn't believe it. So that was, no, we spoke initially, then I called to follow up, and the first thing Al said when I got on the phone. But we go into these league meetings, and we sit as an ownership group, and we don't further evaluate the replay system. There's just too much at stake. And it's a hard job for those guys because it's happening fast. But I don't know if there was ever a more obvious pass interference call that, here it is, the NFC Championship game. So tough one to swallow. We probably never get over it. The truth is you always, some of these losses like this, but one like that, it's too bad.
It's tough to swallow, right? I think plenty of times throughout the season, there's calls that go against you or go for you, or they miss or they didn't. But obviously in a situation like that, where it seemed like everybody in the world saw it, that's tough.
Obvious interference in the helmet, but it's done now. What's done is done. I don't know what else to say about it.
They should have came down and overturned it like they do on everything else. But it is what it is, man. We're gonna take this one on the chin and go home.
Referee, because I clearly don't know what he saw. Maybe he doesn't know what he saw. Maybe, the lights were too bright for him to see. Bashing a so-said referee who's supposed to be a lead at his job. I don't know, blame it on the government shutdown. I don't know. At some point, this is ridiculous.
You officiating, you got a job to do too. So you gotta do your job. So, it hurts. We invested a lot into this, so it hurts, but I don't think they really care.
A lot of heartbreak coming out of the locker room of the New Orleans Saints. And you know what? It should be. It should be, because not only did the referee blow the call, but the referees screwed the New Orleans Saints out of a possibility of going to the Super Bowl. Now, we can say it all day long. You can say all the Saints had an opportunity to win the game early. They was up 13-0. Oh, the Saints, they should have put the Rams out of their misery early. Oh, there was some calls. There was a face mask that was on Jared Goff and Brandon Cooks that wasn't called. And before people go and comment down below and talk about how they had calls for the Rams that didn't go their way, Jared Goff scored on that drive. That pass he threw to Brandon Cooks, they scored on that drive. That was the drive leading into halftime. So what could possibly would have happened? You give a face mask and would have put the ball on the one and they still would have punched it in. But this right here, this call right here basically shifted the entire foundation of the National Football League. This call right here cost the New Orleans Saints an opportunity at the Super Bowl. And make no mistake about it, if they would have called that pass interference, the ball probably would have been around maybe like the 5-yard line. All the Saints would have had to do was run the football, make the Rams use all of their timeouts, and kick a field goal or even punch it in for the win. And they would be heading to Super Bowl 53. But because of the referees, the Saints are not going to the Super Bowl. And these referees just cost the Saints, Drew Brees and Sean Payton, possibly a game that would have changed their legacy. This game right here, this just ain't no Week 6 game, man. If this was a Week 6 game, we all can get upset. But this was to play in the biggest game. Those guys go out there and put their hearts and their souls on the line, and they prepare all week long. And their fate comes down to a referee who does not make the right call. And I'm not talking about something that could have went anyway. I mean, it was so blatant that it was pass interference. It was helmet to helmet. Two, it was ridiculous. Look, if you're listening to the State of the Saints podcast and you don't even like the Saints, you can be a Falcon fan. You can be an Eagles fan. I mean, honestly, you can be any fan of any team in the National Football League. Even a fan that is not a fan of the Saints will have to admit that this was a screw job. They screwed the Saints. And the sad thing about it is nobody is going to put an asterisk under the Los Angeles Rams Super Bowl appearance. They're not. They're not going to put it under that. All this is going to say is the Los Angeles Rams went to New Orleans in a hostile situation and they got the win. That's all it's going to say. And the league apologized and said that they messed it up. Well, hell, can they play the game next week? Can they go back out there, put their uniforms on and replay that? Hell no. What can an apology do? What can an apology do, man? I feel so bad for these guys, man. From what happened last year in the divisional round, that ended in heartbreak. And now this year, it ends in heartbreak yet again. These guys left it all on the field. And, you know, I as a Saints fan, I am proud of this team. But, man, what a way to lose. You know what, Who Dat Nation? You know, I'm not much about conspiracy theories. I think we all kind of joke around and we raise our eyebrows and we say things like, you know, the NFL is rigged, man. The NFL, something is fishy going on. But I am fully convinced. I'm fully convinced that the NFL is rigged. Look, the NFL, it's just weird to me, man. How can a team like the Rams leave St. Louis? Now, keep in mind, they were in St. Louis for 13 years. 13 years. No winning seasons. Barely made the playoffs. And now, 2 years into them moving from St. Louis to Los Angeles, they win the NFC West twice. They make it to the playoffs, lose in the first round to the Falcons, and now they're in the Super Bowl. And not to mention all of the key acquisitions that they had. I mean, they got Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh. You got Akeem Talib and Marcus Peters on each side. You got Dante Fowler coming over, who was a good pass rusher for the Jaguars. You got Ty Gurley. Man, you got all of this talent around you. It's just something weird about this situation, man. There's something very, very funny going on in Los Angeles, man. Ain't it funny that all of a sudden this is a new team and a new market and all of a sudden they winning games and they making Super Bowls? Something ain't right here. I can really, truly make an argument to say that the NFL basically did this in order to spark interest in the LA market. Hell, I can even say the same thing about the Chargers. When the Chargers was in San Diego, they weren't winning. I mean, they went maybe like 5-6 years without making the playoffs. Last year, they were one game out from making the playoffs. This year, they go 12-4 and possible Super Bowl contenders. Man, something ain't right here. But the NFL in this game, this NFC Championship game just showed me that they are a business. They are business, man. Because how can you explain this? How can you explain this? Okay, first, the referee said that he thought the ball was tipped. That's what he told the cornerback of the Los Angeles Rams. The ball wasn't tipped. Then he lied and said he wasn't in position. There are pictures that are circling around the internet as we speak of him having a clear shot of the play that happened. I mean, he was looking right at it. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. But I don't feel more sorry for anybody than Drew Brees. Like, this right here, man, like, man, I feel bad for Drew Brees because Drew Brees this season put on an MVP performance, probably had one of his best seasons in a Saints uniform, believe it or not. And this man laid it all on the line. This team laid it all on the line. They did every single thing they can do to put themselves in a better position to be a Super Bowl contender, to make it to the big game. They won the NFC South. They were the number 1 seed. They had home field advantage. They did everything that a team is supposed to do in order for them to win. And for them to lose like this, I mean, honestly, Drew Brees don't have them many years left. This team is going to look completely different next year. There's still talks about Mark Ingram. Is he going to get re-signed by the Saints? You won't see offensive linemen probably like Andrews Pete. He probably won't be a Saint next year. Benjamin Watson, a guy who is a leader in the locker room, he is going to retire. You feel bad for guys like this, man, because this was the Saints' big chance. And the NFL screwed them, man. The NFL screwed them. And what an apology is going to do, I really don't know, man. You got to feel bad for those guys who train all in the off season. They go to OTAs, they go to minicamp, training camp, and they put their best body of work and they put their bodies on the line. And for a referee to screw these guys over like this, man, and basically change the destiny of this team, you can do nothing but shake your head. But I will say this, that last drive by the New Orleans Saints before winning to overtime, I think that probably was some of the worst play calling I've seen from Sean Payton. Sean Payton in that game, he got a little bit too cute, man. I mean, he wanted to put Taysom Hill in, take the ball out of Drew Brees' hands. I remember one play when Drew Brees, I'm talking about this man was wheeling and dealing. And I'm talking about, man, he was going downfield, man, connecting with every receiver that he needed to. I mean, he was basically dialed in. And all of a sudden, Sean Payton want to run a read option with Taysom Hill. Man, you have to understand the pulse of the game. But that last drive, oh my goodness. I mean, throwing a quick slant to Michael Thomas. I mean, basically what you did was give the Rams a timeout. They already had 2. So by dropping a ball, that was a timeout. And all of a sudden you want to run the football with Alvin Kamara, and it goes absolutely nowhere. Come on, man. All you have to do is run the ball 3 times, let the Rams use up all their timeouts, possibly kick a field goal with maybe like 15 seconds left on the clock, something like that. Maybe even a little bit more than that. But, man, that was just some horrible play calling by Sean Payton on that last drive. But still, man, that still don't negate the fact that the New Orleans Saints got screwed. That's just all it is to it, man. This was the biggest screw job I've ever seen in my entire life. The NFL in plain sight basically showed the entire NFL that they have an agenda, in my opinion, man. They have an agenda. And I don't care what anybody says. I argue anybody anywhere about this particular situation because, man, it's hard to say that the fix wasn't in this game. I'm sorry. I mean, it's hard to say that. And it's hard for me to believe, talking to you on this podcast right now, that the NFL didn't have an agenda that involved the Los Angeles market. I'm sorry. And we can all make those type of theories. We can say that this is sour grapes coming from, a host that is a Saints fan, a lifelong Saints fan, whatever. I mean, y'all saw it. I mean, unless you was taking the Bird Box challenge, because clearly the referee was. This has been the State of the Saints podcast. Check out the State of the Saints podcast on YouTube. Go to youtube.com, search the State of the Saints podcast. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell for notifications. Follow the State of the Saints podcast on Twitter at SOTS Podcast 8, SOTS Podcast 8, and check out previous episodes on iTunes, Spotify, and iHeartRadio.com. Till next time, all I have to say is, who dat?